When you hear the phrase renewable energy, you also hear one more word again and again: cheap. Solar is cheap, wind is cheap, cheaper than coal. But is renewable energy really cheap in India? Or are we just looking at one part of the bill and ignoring the rest? In this video, we will break down the real cost of renewable energy in India, not just the headlines, but the full picture. Hi, my name is Manjush. I work in the energy industry. On this channel, I explain India's energy stories. What is happening? Why is it happening? And what to expect next. Let's get started. India is in the middle of massive energy transition. We have been adding record amount of renewable energy every year. India aims to install 500 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2030. At the same time, coal still produces majority of India's electricity. So the question is not academic. If renewable energy is really cheap, it changes everything. Electricity bill, industrial competitiveness, energy security, and even the public health. To answer this honestly, we must first understand what this cheap really means. When experts compare the cost of producing electricity from different power sources, they usually talk about something called as levelized cost of electricity, or LCOE. It simply means the average cost of producing 1 unit of electricity over the entire life of the power plant. It includes the cost of building the plant, operating it, maintenance, and even the cost of fuel in the case of coal especially. Now this is very important. Solar and wind, they don't need any fuel to produce electricity. They just need sunlight and wind, which are freely available. Coal power plants, on the other hand, they need continuous supply of coal energy, which comes at a cost. Now, let's look at the numbers that usually make the headline. In India, solar tariffs discovered through auctions can go as low as 2 rupees per unit or even lower. Similarly, the case for wind tariffs. Whereas if you look at the coal power plants, when they are built and commissioned, coal power plant see the cost of producing electricity in the range of 3 to 6 rupees per unit, depending on the cost of coal as well as the plant efficiency. So if we compare just these numbers, renewables are the clear winners. But this is only the generation part. When we look at a system level, the story is much different. Solar power works when sun is shining, and wind power works when wind is blowing. But the electricity demand doesn't see the weather conditions. We need electricity during day, night, evenings, all the time. Whenever there is a shoot up in the power demand, the grids have to respond to it and provide the electricity. Usually, such job of supplying the immediate electricity is done by coal, gas, or even hydropower. Whereas solar and wind, they are quite weather dependent, which is called as intermittency. So even if solar is available during the daytime, we need electricity during evening and night times. So we need a backup power, and that comes at a cost. So if we want renewable energy to be supplied to all the homes and industries 24/7, we need to store that energy, usually done in the form of batteries or pumped hydro storages. These will eventually add to the final cost of electricity. The cost of batteries and other energy storage options are coming down, but they are still quite expensive. Renewable energy without storage is cheap, but when you add the storage cost, the overall cost is still improving, but it is not at the cheapest option everywhere. As I mentioned, solar and wind energies are weather dependent. So these generation units are generally positioned in the regions where there is a suitable weather condition, which means these are positioned generally quite far from where the grids are available. So in order to transport the electricity from renewable side to the consumer side, there has to be a new grid that has to be added. So there has to be a transmission line, substation in order to carry that energy, which will eventually add to the overall cost of the electricity. And these costs are called as grid integration costs, which are not generally included in the tariffs that we see on the headlines. But these costs have to be ultimately paid by the consumers, that is you and me. So why do the auction costs look so attractive? There are few reasons. First, there is an intense competition between the developers to quote the lower prices. Number two, the government policy and the long-term power purchase agreements. And the third reason is the cost of financing and the expectation that the technology improvement will drive the cost towards the lower side. All these factors are a good thing. They are driving India's acceleration to deploy more renewable energy, but it does mean the lower tariffs of renewables don't give the full system level picture. Now let's talk about costs that do not appear on our electricity bill. Coal power plants emit a lot of emissions, causing the air pollution. These pollutions lead to health problems, medical expenses, and overall reducing the productivity. Coal also increases our dependence on the imports, which means it affects our energy security and trade balance. Renewable energy avoids all these factors, so even if the renewable energy appear to be a bit more expensive with the addition of grid costs and the battery costs, but in the long run it will give us a lot of economic and social benefits. So what does it mean to consumers, that is you and me? In the short term, renewable electricity provides a stable energy. So in the long term, the solar, batteries and electric vehicles are going to help us reduce the overall household energy costs. But a reliable and affordable renewable grid depends on smart planning, storage deployment and grid upgrades. Is renewable energy really cheap in India? Yes. At the generation point, renewables are cheaper than the other sources. But if you look at the system level cost, they are slightly higher than the fossil based. Having said that, in the long run, renewable energies give us carbon free, pollution free world. So renewables in the long term are not just cheap, but they are also essential. If you found this video useful, please hit like and subscribe and follow this channel for more such videos on India's energy stories.